And I mean, look, the world is ever changing and technology is changing, and the change of technology has always changed what music has even sounded like and what marketing has looked like. So, it used to be about like taking out the billboard on Sunset Boulevard here in LA or advertising on the radio. It's now, in a different place. And so, but all so you always have to be thinking about those things, even though I think a lot of the core concepts are really the same. I think a lot of artists, unfortunately, they're artists and they're creative people and they don't want to think of themselves as a brand, but they really are. And it's like that fine line between taking the art and making it make sense from a commerce point of view too. A lot of artists that you hear of, you never hear of them again after their, that one album or whatever. But there are very deliberate things that you have to do to build a sustainable career.
All right, guys, welcome to the Winner Circle podcast. Today we have somebody who is a trailblazer and a force to be reckoned with when it comes to the world of music and branding. And she's also a key player at God Mode and Overmind merchandise. Talia is transforming how artists build their brand and connect with their audiences. Our innovative approach to marketing and sustainable operations not only champions the creative spirit, but also give the integrity to the artists and their messages. And we know that we have a competitive arena where many struggle to stand out. But I can tell you something. The Taya represents the new generation of female entrepreneurs driving change and fostering authenticity. She understands the delicate balance of expanding a brand reach while maintaining its core values. A crucial insight for anyone looking to succeed in today's fast paced market. So today we're going to delve into strategies for using innovative marketing techniques to empower artists and creators. We'll also explore how to balance creativity with sustainable business practices, ensuring both growth and ethical responsibilities. So if you're an artist, a brand leader, or you're just simply someone curious about the evolving landscape of the music industry, I can guarantee you don't want to miss this conversation. So you're going to have to join me as we'll learn from one of the industry most inspiring voices. Talia Elitzer. Hello, Tyre. How are you doing today?
Hi, nice to meet you. Thanks for
All
having
right.
me.
All right. You're welcome. I know a lot of people are going to learn a lot, especially your experience, being in the background for top artists. I can't even mention all of them. I've seen you've made a significant waves in the music industry through your work with God Mode and Overmind merchandise. Can you share with our listeners what initially drew you into this field?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was a big music fan as a kid, and I played the piano and guitar growing up. And I grew up in upstate New York, where I didn't even know that the music, like that one could have a job in the music industry. I thought that the only options were like doctor or lawyer or just sort of or going to get a job at a big company.
Yeah.
And so, really, as soon as I learned that that was a job a person could have, I was like, oh, I want to be there.
Wow. That's great. So, but was there a particular experience or a moment that you can say solidified your decision to pursue this career path?
I honestly think it was, I was in a lot of fan clubs as a kid, and I saw that I was in a fan club for Green Day as a young kid. And I saw that there were some people who were fans, but were also kind of working for the artist. And that really intrigued me. And I said, oh, how do I get to be one of those people? And so I started getting internships over the summers when I was in college. And I started learning about what the industry was. And I was like, oh, I got to do this. Whatever this is, I got to do it.
So, as one of the few female entrepreneurs in this sector, what unique challenges have you faced and how have they shaped your perspectives?
Being a woman, you mean?
Yes, like in this
In
particular
business?
industry.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think it definitely, is still there are very few women who have, more important titles in music, and especially when I worked at big companies like Capitol Records and places like that, I was definitely one of like the only woman sitting around the boardroom table a lot. So, it's definitely a different thing. And I was, all the stories that you hear about being, I wasn't invited to the chairman's house to watch sports
Mm,
because they assumed I wasn't interested. And,
mm.
there's a lot of stuff like that that happened. But to be honest, I actually really prefer working with men. And that's all, it's kind of all I've known. So, but yeah, I think there's definitely moments that I was excluded and all of that, but I also think that it was also my superpower, and I could stand out of the crowd in a way because of it.
So how do you think your experiences so far in that industry will inspire other women looking to break into that industry? Because I know that industry is being controlled by men most times. The top boards, CEOs of or most of these corporations and record label are mostly men. So how do you think your experience so far can actually inspire women?
Yeah, I think for women, women just need to kind of be brave and go do it. And I think a lot of men are not afraid to speak up or just kind of like go after what they want. And I think, in our society, women are told to are not really trained to do that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
almost act like a man and just go get what you want.
I agree with you. So also from my research about what you've been doing so far, I see your approach combines innovative marketing with sustainable business practices. Why do you believe these elements are crucial for artists today?
I mean, look, the world is ever changing and technology is changing, and the change of technology has always changed what music has even sounded like and what marketing has looked like. So, years ago when it was, when people stopped, when recording got more easily then got easier to do, there were electric guitars, and then that it's evolved over the years, and then electronic music became popular when there were synthesizers, and then you could make it in the computer, and then it sounded different. And so and then same with marketing, and whether it used to be about like taking out the billboard on Sunset Boulevard here in LA, or advertising on the radio, it's now in a different place. And so, but all the so you always have to be thinking about those things, even though I think a lot of the core concepts are really the same.
They're the same. So now let's quickly go a little bit forward and just talk about God mode. All right. I see that you focus on empowering artists to build their brands. But for you now, what are some common pitfalls artists should avoid when branding themselves?
I think a lot of artists, unfortunately, they're artists and they're creative people, and they don't want to think of themselves as a brand, but they really are. And I think
That's
sometimes
shocking.
artists are almost trying to do too much, and you almost have to keep it very, very simple and almost think about like what a really not dumbed down version, but a very simplified version of what the brand is, because people should be able to understand like kind of what the artist sounds like and the vibe of the artist just by looking at like the artwork, or they should kind of understand who it is. And that's not saying that they shouldn't have their creative vision, but it's about like something that we always say is
Being
marrying art
authentic.
with commerce. And it's like that fine line between taking the art and making it make sense from a commerce point of view too.
Or how can the artists themselves ensure that their brand stays authentic and they don't get, you know, overhyped and become, vague? How can
I
they
mean,
ensure they stay authentic?
it's a balance. I think you have to stay authentic, but have it make sense to, you have to have your brand make sense to large groups of people. So it has to do both things. So you are going to have to compromise too. It can't just be like, no, this is what I'm doing and that's it. It has to make sense to large groups of people.
All right. It has to make sense to a large group of people. I want us to jump in more on that innovative marketing. Can you elaborate on how innovative marketing strategies have changed in the music industry over the past few years, considering social media?
Yeah, I mean, I think the music industry is not always the most modern industry, and I think music industry can be very reactive instead of proactive about stuff. But I mean, TikTok has sort of been the name of the game for a lot of years, and there are a lot of different ways to market yourself. It doesn't just have to be the corny like, "Hey guys, I'm here on TikTok," but it's just basically finding different ways to build community online. And that's what I have always preached to my artists, that it's about, you know, it's better to have, a few thousand, if when you're starting out, it's better to have a few thousand, hardcore fans than 100,000 passive fans. And you want people to really, really care about your music and your project and all of that, because that's really how you have success and long-term success.
Sustainability is often overlooked in the creative industry. Do you agree?
I actually don't think so. Sustainability in terms of long-term career or in terms of
Yes, correct.
environmental
Yes,
long-term
I
career?
mean long-term career. Yes.
Oh, it's definitely overlooked. And I think, a lot of the artists that, you know, so even some of the artists that I've worked with over the years that are the most well known don't necessarily make the most money. And so I think that's an interesting dichotomy too. But yeah, I mean, sustainability is really, really hard. And a lot of artists that you hear of, you never hear of them again after their, that one album or whatever. But there are very deliberate things that you have to do to build a sustainable career.
So, do you have an advice for artists to how they can approach building sustainability within their career?
Definitely. I mean, that's a big part of the conversation. Not every artist wants to do it, but it's hard work. Every part of being an artist is hard work. You're really the CEO of your company, but not every artist, some artists have different goals. They don't necessarily want to be touring for 10 years or 40 years or whatever, but yeah, it just depends on kind of the goal that each artist has.
Now that the attention span of the world is very short, and you just have one, they call them one hit wonder. I don't know if that's the term in the music industry out there. It's like they
Definitely.
just do one nice music and everybody dance to it on TikTok and it's over. So, in your own opinion, what are the top qualities that makes an artist successful in today's music?
Hello and welcome back. You guys, the listeners, are my powerhouse. So I have something I want to discuss with you guys today. So before we dive into today's episode, I want to shine a spotlight on an incredible opportunity that could revolutionize the way you approach your business. So now the question is, are you ready to take your business to the next level? Whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader, or a team member striving for excellence, I want to say Point of View Consulting in New York is your partner in strategic transformation. Whether you are in Texas or you are in wherever the city you are in, so far you're in the United States, they are helping businesses transform their business. So they are not just a consulting firm, they are your catalyst for change, a coaching powerhouse, and a branding leader, all rolled into one. At Point of View Consulting, their services includes strategic consulting, executive coaching, brand development, and performance optimization. And one interesting thing about this brand, Point of View Consulting, is right now they're offering an exclusive free consultation just for you. Now, this is your own chance to gain invaluable insight at no cost. Plus, when you decide to move forward with any services, just use the promo code Winner Circle Podcast to receive a hefty 30% discount on your services fee. It's simple. Imagine the transformation you could achieve with an expert guidance and a fresh perspective. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. I want you to visit www.pointofviewconsultinginc.com. So that is Point of View Consulting NC.com today to book your complimentary consultation and embark on a journey of growth and success. Now, let's get back to the show.
Music landscape. What would you
I
say?
think it's all about, and one hit wonders definitely still happen, but it's all about really a lot of the work that I've done over the years is what we call world building. And it's about making, when you encounter a song or an artist, that it's about making people feel like, oh my God, I've just encountered this whole world that I didn't even know existed. And building out both from a visual perspective, but general branding, but also just like making more things that are there to digest for fans and making it more than just like, oh, I like this song, whatever. And I think if you really think back to, probably many of your favorite artists, there's a whole world around them that you kind of understand and know that exists. And I think that's a really, really important part of how an artist can be successful beyond just one song.
I'm trying to digest that. And I'm very sure a lot of artists watching this podcast right now, if you're an artist or probably in the in that industry, you need to take this information to the banks. It's very, very important. So now I know you're a little bit of a digital person. So how has the digital landscape changing the way artists engage with their audience? Before now, you can be an artist. You don't need social media. You don't need 1 million or 10 million followers or 10 million views. But now it has become something you have to have.
It's
So
really, I mean,
how has it
it's
changed?
hard. Yeah, I mean, it's since I've been working in music, everything's changed. There was no social media when I first started, but not to kind of harp on the same thing. It's really the same concept though. It's really like it's about community building, it's about world building, and you just kind of have to do that in a different way. And I think that's ever evolving. And when, we don't know right now it's TikTok, we don't know what the next thing will be, but it's about, really keeping your like overly super serving your community and just having it feel right to whatever that brand is. And I've worked with rappers, I've worked with, DJs, and so it totally varies I've worked with singer-songwriters, I've worked, all types of music. And it obviously has to be authentic to that brand, but it's all the same concept. Is just, community building, having there be, more to digest for fans. And I'm not saying you have to make corny TikToks, but you have to do something.
All right. So for you, from your experience, what platform do you find to be the most effective for artists and audience engagement right now?
I mean, TikTok is the obvious big one, but I'm always a big Reddit and YouTube person. So I
Mm,
think it's easier. It's a little bit easier to control, I think, on those platforms.
for Reddit, you'd say.
I love Reddit. Yeah.
All right. So like you can control Reddit, but like there's a video right now going viral. There's this guy on the I don't know if you've seen it on TikTok. He was in his hand like this, you know, like I think it's from Indonesia, and there's this
Okay.
American rapper that I don't know if you've seen a song. The
I don't
people
think so. I don't know.
they stand on the boat and they do their hand like this, and other
Okay.
people are paddling. It's actually it went viral,
Yeah.
and he dropped the music I think last year, and somebody just saw a video of a festival in Indonesia, and they call the guy something Reaper, I can't remember, and the guy
Okay.
was doing his hand like this. It's popular on TikTok, something like that. So and he was in the hand like this, and this other person was in front of the boat and all that. And somebody just edited and put the guy's music, maybe just look for random music and put it on that stuff. After that thing, automatically he had like over like 5 million downloads. He went to the American Billboard instantly. This music
Yep.
was actually dropped last year, not even
Yep.
this year.
That happens. That happens. That's what happened with Lizzo even. Like her music was out for a couple years before it
Hmm.
finally clicked and went viral, and then now she is who she is. But yeah, it happens. But I think that I don't think anyone should expect that's like winning the lottery. That's very, very, very
Hmm.
rare. And
Hmm.
that's not a business plan. So I think you're lucky if that happens, but you kind of have to build in those other ways I was describing, to really have a sustainable career. And even artists at the higher level, you hope to have a hit record, but it's really you can't count on that.
Hmm. All right. So one of your brands focuses on merchandise. What role do you think merchandise plays in artists' overall branding strategy currently?
So merchandise I see as just another tool to world build around your artists. And I mean, some artists do it well. Some artists just sell crappy t-shirts and try to make an extra buck, which you can definitely do. But for me, it's always been a tool to help with world building. I think there's a lot of really creative ways to do that. And basically, uh, I had one artist in particular who had a very, very big merch business who kind of had a big cult following. And a lot of the merch companies that exist in the music world are very sort of old companies, or they're owned by the major labels, so they move very slowly and aren't particularly innovative or doing this kind of strategic thinking. And so I decided to start the company. And we work with a very select group of artists, and artists really who I think are interested in that strategy and interested in it from a world building perspective, because in my opinion, that's how you become successful in that space. And so it's really thinking about, making merch. Like if you think about even merch that we've all seen in the world, like everyone sees those Metallica t-shirts or the Grateful Dead Dancing Bear, and those bands, like a lot of kids wear the Metallica t-shirts. They've never listened to a Metallica song, or they see the Bears. They don't even know they don't even know what Grateful Dead is probably anymore. But it's been a great, it's incredible branding and it's incredible world building, and that those are the types of clients that I work with on that side, of people that are really interested in having something that is just a great item too, that is could stand alone.
So, are there any specific type of merch that resonate more with fans if you look at today compared to like last year?
Honestly, it completely varies on the artist, but everyone still, this is not an interesting answer, but everyone still loves a hoodie and a t-shirt. So those are always the top sellers. But we've made lots of fun stuff. We've made, like those backpacks that you can drink water from. We've made USBs shaped like vapes. We've made a lot of crazy stuff too. But those items are always good for marketing, but don't necessarily sell as well.
So, and also, looking at your profile, you have a wealth of experience working with various artists. So, how do you tailor your strategies to fit different genres?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every artist is different and every genre is different. I've probably worked in everything. I haven't worked in country music. That's the only genre I probably haven't worked in at all, but I would like to. But it tends to be, it's kind of a very insular
Beyonce's
world.
listening to the show, I guess.
Yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, no, it's definitely different. But to be honest, like, the items might be different or where the community lives might be different. But as I said before, it's the same concept, and it's about super serving the super fans and really knowing how to build and engage a community.
So now let's talk a little bit about relationships, because they're very crucial in the music industry. It's going to decide how far you're going to go in the music industry. So how do you foster strong connection with the artists you collaborate with?
I honestly would say, on the business side, I started out in I don't know if you've heard it's a very classic story that I started out in the mailroom at William Morris, and I literally worked in the mailroom and then worked my way up in that building. And, I think a lot of the relationship building, really, I think what's more important that people often don't, I think young people starting out or people starting out don't think about, is really building relationships even with your peers. Because even when I was 22 years old and starting like delivering mail in the mailroom, all those people who I delivered mail with are all have really important jobs now. And we came up together, and one of them is the president of a major record company. The other one's a manager to like one of the top artists in the country. And I could call either one of them as examples, and they would, take my call in a second, because we were kids together and we worked, and so I think that's just as important as, trying to build relationships with the top execs or whatever. And I think that's really important. And artists too. I mean, artists, you'll meet a lot of artists in your career, and artists, it takes a while to kind of like find artists that really want to go the distance and find, because it's very, very hard to be an artist. It's not just all what you see in the movies and all of that. It's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of, it's you really have to want to run a business too. So if you want to make money being an artist, I should clarify. But it's so yeah, I think it's relationship building is very, very, very important.
Right. So as a veteran in the music industry in LA, where almost all the shows happen, what's one misconception people have about working in the music industry that you like to clarify on this show?
Probably along the lines of what I just said, which is that it's not as glamorous as everyone thinks. Or maybe I should say the glamour gets old very quickly. So
Hmm.
I think
Is there a
it's
lifespan? Sorry, is there a lifespan for an average artist?
for an average artist. I mean, it totally depends. I don't know what the answer to that question is, but probably, I mean, most artists are not popular probably beyond the first project. So, I mean, if even, it's very, very hard to be an artist that people care about over long periods of time.
So in your own analysis, how do you think artists like Beyonce has been able to coming back over and over again?
I mean, I think Beyonce is obviously a unicorn. There are not many Beyoncés in the world, but I think, she was well known in Destiny's Child as a very young person, and kind of came up in that machine. And I think her team has done a really good job of being a part of the zeitgeist and reinventing herself and really keeping it going. Whether it's coming from her or not, that's another question. But I think her team's done a really good job.
So as an entrepreneur, what role does creativity play in your day-to-day decision making for you?
I mean, everything. I think a lot of the artists that I've been associated with, like I started from the beginning. We talked about like the large scale vision of what it could be. I'm not a producer, but I thought a lot about what their look should be, what their music should sound like, and all of that. And it's a huge role. And I think even as for the larger artists too, it's really making sure that everything is cohesive and has the right look and all of that. It's a big part of my day to day.
So do you also facilitate collaboration for music artists?
Yes, of course.
Well, how do you prioritize and facilitate this collaboration between the artists? You can share a story
I
if you
mean,
have
a
any.
lot of artists, artists have to network just as executives have to network, and a lot of uh, a lot of the work that artists have to do is really putting themselves out there and making those connections. And because as much as I can, of course, I probably know that any artist manager or any artist, someone's associated with it, it's obviously going to be a much deeper connection if the artists themselves meet and do that. So a lot of that where I can make an introduction, a lot of times even the introduction or the reach out is better coming from the artists themselves.
That makes sense. So
Yes.
if you look at this world we live in right now, there's a lot of AI, there's technology, there's everything. There's so many resources available. What advice do you give to artists who might be overwhelmed with the marketing choices?
I think just, what I try to say is like, don't take it too seriously. Go out and play with all these different things. I'm obsessed with AI and I'm like, I use it all day, every day. And I'm so excited to see how it evolves. And I think anyone who's too skeptical is not going to be successful. So I just think they're going to get pushed to the side. Of course, I wouldn't say I'm skeptical. I have my concerns about it, but I'm still mostly very, very excited about it. And I think artists should go out there and just play and see what they can do. I think it doesn't need to be that serious either.
So you just need to go out there and see what you can do with it. Now, looking at you, because I know you come up with marketing strategies for artists and all, how do you measure the success of your marketing strategies?
That's a really good question. It totally depends. It depends on, kind of the goal. I think it's always important to set a goal for what you're trying to do for a particular strategy. Obviously, with something like ads, it's very clear when you've hit that goal or not. But I think sometimes it's about building an awareness in certain communities or certain, areas. And as we were chatting about before we started was, like I know who Thames is, but maybe the guy walking down the street right now doesn't. And maybe if the goal is, hey, how do we get him to know about it? Let's think about different ways to get there. And really, then you can kind of measure to see if that worked or not. But yeah, it kind of depends on the strategy. But I think it's important to have goals and important to have those check-ins to see if you've met them or not and see what's working.
All right. So what exact metrics do you find most indicative of an artist's growth and connection with their audience?
That's a good question. I would say certain genres have different indicators of that.
Hmm.
Like, for instance, a lot of electronic artists don't do well on streaming services, but they could have, a lot of fans who will show up to their shows.
Hmm.
And then there's the reverse in other genres. So it depends on the genre, I would say, overall. It's I would say just general. Well, this isn't even true. I was going to say sometimes you can tell by engagement on socials, like by how many comments and how many interactions you are, like on an Instagram post or something. But certain genres are never going to do well on socials either. So it just depends.
That's a great information. So far, so good. Now, looking ahead, what changes or innovation do you hope to implement in your businesses?
And I think particularly in the merch business, I'm so excited. We have all of our fulfillment centers are all run by robotic AI systems now, which we just
Wow,
started
that's
working
great.
with about a month ago, which is I'm very excited about. It's wild. I went to go tour one of them here in Southern California, and
Wow.
it's really I'm like, oh, we're in the future now. But so I'm excited for automating a lot more of my workflows in that space. And I think, the wild card will always be dealing with managers and artists because they're always disorganized and crazy, and late and last minute and all of that. But I think the more I can automate and, kind of set and forget it on that side, I'm really excited for that.
That's a great step in the right direction. So, but how do you anticipate these changes will shape the future of artist branding?
I think we're going to see a lot of really crappy branding that people have made with AI for a while.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I think it will get better, and I think it'll just kind of be another way that artists can make stuff without the need for major record companies being behind them. It'll be more ways that artists can build on them on their own.
So, lastly, what key piece of advice would you give to aspiring musicians and also creators who want to build their own brands?
I would say look to some of your favorite artists and just see kind of even make a mood board for what their stuff looks like. And I think then try to make one for yourself and have it be as clear and as simple as possible. And
Hmm.
I think don't overcomplicate things and just try to put that out there. And I think it'll go a longer way.
All right. So, for an artist watching this podcast right now or listening to the podcast, and they're like, I don't know how to go about this. I'm really interested in reaching out to you. Probably you're gonna help me with a branding or maybe marketing. What's your word for them?
It's not about me, and we're probably not taking on new artists at this point, but it's really just about like make your project both from a musical standpoint and from a branding standpoint, make it as cohesive as possible and just start putting yourself out there. Think about if everyone's doing one thing, think about what people aren't looking at and try that. And you really are, as an artist, you are also an entrepreneur. And you need to think about it in that way and start making connections and start meeting people. I think artists sometimes don't realize how much they can do on their own.
So, for an artist who has a one-hit wonder and right now they're trying to come back, what's your advice for them?
I think start giving people more stuff to digest. Start giving start telling the story of who you are and giving them some, whether that's beautiful imagery or other music and all of that. I think give them.
Hey, winners, as we continue our journey together today, I want to share something truly special with you. Over the years, I've had the privilege of coaching countless business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, guiding them to achieve breakthrough results and unlocking their full potential. So I'm opening up just 4 slots for my monthly business coaching program. That's right, 4 slots. After being fully booked for the past 3 years, if you're ready to elevate your business with personalized guidance, proven strategy, and a supportive community, I'm here to help you navigate challenges, refine your vision, and achieve your goals. So if you're committed to taking your business to the next level, I want to hear from you. Reach out to me directly at jay@winnercirclewithj.com and discuss how we can work together to build the future your business deserves. So don't wait. This is your moment. Join Winner Circle and let's embark on this transformative journey towards success together. And now let's dive back into today's episode.
And more to sink their teeth into.
Wow, this is so powerful and very interesting. And I'm going to be honest with you. This is a kind of episode I really want to keep going because a lot of people are just going to digest all and all over again because the strategies you implement at your organization is actually out of this world. And I think it's because of the experiences you've seen it all, especially in that industry. I know I've already said the last word, but the thing is, for an artist who's not in LA or not in New York, what's your advice for them? Because there's a myth, a myth that says as an artist, if you really want to go, you really want to go national, you need to leave your city and find your way to LA and
I
New
actually
York.
don't think that's true. I think there's plenty of
Okay.
ways to make connections in your I think it's actually I have some artists who are trying to make it here and everyone in the industry knows them and they're almost too familiar and people don't want to like work with them because they're too and I think it's actually an advantage to not be in New York or LA. So I think you can make connections online too and there's a lot of stuff you can do. I wouldn't worry about.
So the myth has been debunked that you don't have to be in New York. If you look at the story of Kanye West, one video, I don't know if you saw the video, he went to New York, stayed in New York for a while, trying to go to the Rock Nation, just trying to, because you need to be in New York or LA. But right now, you know that you can. I think the world is actually a digital space right now where you can actually blow up and probably you're in Indonesia and you just drop a music, and before you know it, everybody in America bubbling to it. Like, it's everywhere. I know I said that was my last one, but I'm still gonna ask another one. So now for artists that get to become one hit wonder, I just keep saying that word. Most times they don't know that the music is just gonna blow up like that. So how can they manage that fame within that short lifespan? What's your advice for them?
Take your time to hire the right team. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people will reach out to you, and I think follow your gut on who's right. Everyone's going to say a lot of BS to you and try to convince you, but I think follow your gut and try to find people that seem authentic to help you. Anyone who promises you the world is going to be, I wouldn't trust.
Okay. All right. So you guys have listened to this. One thing we've learned on this show is our power, our innovative approach, and also our commitment to sustainability. Not only um helping artists, it's also paving the way for a new era of entrepreneurship that values integrity as much as growth. And that's one thing we always push in at the Winner Circle, the ability to grow as much as we can. I'll let's say thank you to everyone. Thank you to Talia. Until next time, stay in the Winner Circle. All right.